and welcome to day 17, and it's about black and white today. So black and white doesn't sound very exciting, does it? But it is super important. What I mean by that is the brain sees everything, gathers the information and reads it first of all in black and white. And that's worth 70% of the information that you need. And that black and white is telling you the shape, the form, the depth, the texture of something. Whereas colour is only worth 30%. It's like the cherry on the cake. The way I like to see it is black and white gives you all of the information and it adds mood, but colour turns up the emotion. Value is one of the 7 elements of art, along with line, shape and form, texture, colour and space. Value is basically how light something is or how dark something is.
Hard to see the dark side is.
So when a painting's got lots of different values in it, it's considered low contrast. Whereas if there's only few values used and you can see light right next to dark, so the lightest light next to the darkest dark, you'll get a dramatic contrast. So how do you render value in your artwork? Have you ever considered where you are on the value scale? It's useful printing out a value scale. There's lots on the internet, or you can make your own, and it just gives you a visual reminder that there's the darkest dark and the lightest light. Now most of us, when we start painting or we start our art, we end up somewhere in the middle, and it's not really saying any one particular thing. Up here it's nice and quiet, down here it's noisy. You put quiet next to noisy and you've got a contrast. So what I wanted to do today is to show you a few paintings behind me. I'm going to turn them into black and white so you can see the values much easier, and I'm going to recommend an app that you can use where you can take a photograph of your piece of work and then either turn it into a 2 scale, a 3 scale, a 4 scale, or a continuum of values. And this is a really useful tool in your kit. Let's have a look at these different pieces of artwork, and I'll turn them into black and white so you can see what I'm saying. So here on the easel we have a landscape. Now where do you think that stands in terms of the value scale? Let's turn it to black and white. So the app I use is called See Value, and you give it permission to read your photographs by pressing the photo button just down below there, and you can choose between these different sets: 2 level or a 3 level, going on to a 4 level, and then finally a continuum. Now I actually prefer to view most things on a 4 level. It gives me the most information I'm looking for, and it tells me where my lightest lights are and where my darkest darks are. So then I decide what I push down to make a lower value, which is lighter, or what I push up to create a higher value, which is darker. Now this one, pops of colour. You would think we'd have high contrast here, wouldn't we? Well, what do you think? Colour can be tricky to translate in your mind's eye on the black and white value scale. Do you think that the red reads the same value as the green, or is one darker than the other? These are the useful questions you need to start asking yourself, because if the red and the green are of similar value, then it's just going to be too grey and not an interesting painting at all. Now this is a busy painting, but look at that red and green. Just look how similar they are in terms of value. You almost can't tell the difference between them, and that means I've lost the best possible opportunity using the red. It's not punching its best return of colour to me. I can go through the different options of 4 level, 2 level, 3 level, or the continuum, but as I say, I quite like using the 4 level. It gives me the right amount of information for my paintings. I know I need to do something about those flowers, otherwise it was kind of pointless putting them in there in the first place. Okay, so we've got a more formal, more traditional portrait here. Now, have I exploited the use of dark darks and light lights? Now, what I can see here, There's dark underneath his chin. His hair is obviously dark. There's a highlight here, and it's next to some shading here, but is that shading enough? Does it actually show as value that gives us the information that there's shape there? Let's turn it to black and white. Now this more traditional painting, I can see that even though there's dark hair and a dark tie, and there is a lovely dark shadow underneath the chin and just underneath the eyebrows, everything else is quite muted and quite soft. And even though the shades of the face are very subtle, I think it could be stronger. And just looking at this and playing around with the values, I think if I changed the colour of the background, that would help push the face forward for me. This is why this kit is really useful. It helps you improve your painting. And finally today, we've got a limited palette here. Now, can you see the darkest darks and the lightest lights? Is that dramatic or is it soothing? So this one, I can see that the darkest dark has almost created a triangle, a direction for my eye to follow, taking me to the cows, which is then the lightest light on the painting. And that's contrast working really well. So your challenge today is to take a photograph, to turn it into black and white, and to tell me what you think the value is. Where is it on the value scale? Have you got too many in the middle, therefore your painting's not giving much punch at all? Is it too dark? Is it too light? Or is it light because you want it nice and calm? Is it dark because it's a dark subject? Or have you got both dark and the lightest light in there to create a dramatic contrast? What's the story of your values? So one photograph and just describe the values to me. That exercise alone will get you thinking about values in a much more practical, much more valuable way for you and your art. And then tomorrow we're going to be painting like a master. Now I'm a bit stuck, I don't know who to choose. Potentially it could be Klimt, it could be Lowry, it could be Monet. Oh gosh, there's so many. I'll have a sleep on it and decide tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye 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 bye.